I think we're live. I hope we're live. We may be live.
Yeah, we are. Hello.
Hello. You may notice that we don't have Bambos Demetriou next to me at this moment because he's the guest on today's show.
Yes, let's put him in a place where he's not used to be.
Yes. He's
Hmm.
not used to be. He actually, well, first let's introduce a show and then we'll talk about him behind his back. So, Bambos Charles Demetriou is going to be on the show today talking to us about being single and ashamed and what comes up when you're single and ashamed, especially since we just had Valentine's. There's a lot to discuss there.
Ah,
And where are we doing that?
a wonderful chaos.
Yes, it is. So, baby, welcome to the show again.
Well, today I'm Rani.
Okay. Hi, Ronnie. Nice to meet
Hi,
you.
nice to see you. Thank you for inviting me in this show.
um, so this is kind of a funny show because about a week ago, Bambos comes to me and he wants to have a discussion, or he just says, "Let's talk about something." And he said he noticed a lot of shame coming up for him around being single and online dating, and there were a few things that came up that we'll talk about on the show. And then I said to him, "Listen, why don't we talk about this on the show?"
Make him more shameful.
I didn't feel that. I just thought it would be a nice topic because if he's feeling it,
Yeah.
then there's got to be others that are also feeling it. So I said, let's switch out because the topic today was supposed to be intellectual humility. And in place of intellectual humility, we switched it to single and ashamed.
Mhm.
And then Bambos puts a little tricky dicky on me. And he says this morning, "Andy, why don't I be the guest on the show instead of us sitting on the sofa?"
Interesting. So that means he has more to tell than to ask. That is, I'm
I
curious.
don't know. We can ask what led to that change, but I had to go scrambling, call a few people. Then I thought, why not have you on? And we can discuss with them because you were actually really good at interviewing people.
Really? I'm
Yeah.
just nodding and smiling.
No, but you'll listen, and then you always have, like, every time before I go on a show, you'll always say, "Andy, ask them this."
Oh, yeah.
and normally I like park that question for in the middle, and I'm like, "Oh yeah, that's going to be the question I ask." Half the time I'll say Ronnie wants to know, and other times I won't.
Okay.
But I thought it was interesting because I told a few other people that we were going to do this topic, and then I heard those people have like that sigh of, oh, knowing that, wow, this is a bigger topic for more people.
Oh, interesting. Oh, in what sense?
In the
As
sense
in,
that
like,
in the sense that it was like, oh, that's a heavy duty topic. Like,
oh,
oh wow, yeah,
really?
yeah. Because I'm hearing more and more. Like,
Ah,
I made the assumption, and we'll get into it with Bambos, because that online dating was so pervasive that in the meantime, if everyone says, "Yeah, we met on an online dating app," that was just normal. But
yeah.
apparently, it's still not normal enough that people just think that that's it's just okay, just the way we do it
Yeah.
today.
That is very interesting because as an outsider in that sense, since I'm not dating anybody except for you, I always had the impression that everybody nowadays dating, they find their dates online. I don't know anybody who actually still meets people the way we did it
Yeah.
15 years ago, 20 years ago, in a bar, at work, in a gym, and elsewhere. People just
But you
swipe stuff.
remember that you were even ashamed because we met via not an online dating app, but just an online, and you actually didn't like us discussing it for the first few years.
Well, back then, I was the only person I know who met people online.
Okay. Well, even though it wasn't even a dating app, even though it was just like, I remember whenever we talked to people and say, "How did you meet?" It would always be like this little workaround.
Yeah,
Like, we
yeah.
couldn't just say, "Oh, we met
Yeah.
via some expat
Yes.
website where people
Yeah.
were just, it was community building."
Yeah.
Like, you'd always say, "Oh, but it wasn't a dating app." Like, it was really important for you to like make sure people knew it wasn't a dating app.
Yes. So I do understand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, so now we're going to bring on Bambos and discuss it
Yeah.
with him. I think there's going to be a lot more to it than this, but at least this is
Mm,
a precursor to some of the things I think we'll discuss. Did I announce the show yet? Did I say It's a Wonderful Chaos yet? I
you
don't even remember.
did.
Oh, that's great. Oh,
Or
th-
not, it's Andy.
I don't know what just happened. Bambos just disappeared. So I don't know if I threw him out by accident or what just happened, but he's no longer with us for the moment. So
Mm,
he'll come back on.
he'll come back on,
Yeah.
right?
There
So
was
in the
something.
meantime, though,
Yeah, what?
Andy, you also met people back then
Yeah.
through the internet, or at least in our case, let's just say in our case, we met
We met through the internet.
through the internet. You were not particularly looking, but you just put yourself out there as available.
Sure.
Was there any shame
No.
attached to it?
No.
Well, do you have any shame in general?
Not in general, no. But certainly not about that. I didn't feel any specific shame about that. I mean, when I first went to Austria, I was in my 30s, and there were the first websites coming out.
Mhm.
And in that time, it's a very sexually charged energy. So in a way, it was more like an addictive behavior to use these apps just to find women to have sex with.
Mm.
Like that was it.
Yeah, yeah.
Because when you're in your 30s, especially me going to Catholic school and being sexually suppressed my whole life, like it was like, oh my God, finally I can go out in the world and have these crazy experiences.
Yeah.
And
Oh
then,
yeah, interesting, because you're as the guy, right? Because I can imagine as a girl,
mhm,
you might also feel shame of finding your dates online, because that kind of sexuality association with it, that you're afraid that people might think that you're
mhm,
you're just there for the sex. For those who are not sexually liberated, that they're afraid that they're going to be called
yeah,
loose woman or
yeah,
something like that.
yeah, exactly.
So yeah, so I could imagine that kind of shame for the ladies, for the girls.
Yeah.
But for a guy like Bambos, like you, it's interesting to explore if that kind of
Oh, there's a double standard without a doubt, but that would probably be a whole nother show. Double standards. All over across the
Yeah.
board, because of course it's in sexuality, but it's in a lot of other areas as well, of course.
Yeah. But Bambos is back, so let's
So let's bring him on.
Yeah.
Let's bring him on. Hey, Bambos.
Oh, I lost the sound again.
Oh yeah, can you hear us or not?
No.
No, you can't hear us. That's a shame. Maybe you have to take out your headphones and then see if you can hear us. Or you can wave when you do hear us, and then
If you're speaking, I do not hear you.
I'll put you off, and when you hear us, just wave. So, yeah. So, getting back to the whole, the idea of this double standard, like what I noticed is I never really felt any shame in the dating. In fact, I did some stupid stuff, like really dumb stuff. Because I remembered.
But yet it didn't make you feel ashamed.
Well, I mean, I'm shameful when I look back at it, but because you know what I looked at it as? I looked at it a little bit naively. It's like, oh, it's a chance just to meet.
Mhm.
And let's just throw it out there, no attachment. And what I noticed is that it became a little bit burdensome because the women would have more of an expectation than I'd have.
Oh, interesting.
Like sometimes it would just be, hey, let's go out and meet and we'll have a nice night. And it wouldn't be like, oh, I'm searching for the woman of my life. It was more like, and there was no pressure. I didn't put a pressure on myself, but I noticed a lot of resentment towards women if we didn't meet a second time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I remember the worst of the experiences was I was really, when I say naive, that was kind of naive, that I used to have every night a Sunday movie night. I had the kind of big projector at home, and it was a big deal because at that time there weren't really projectors. They were really expensive, but it was all set up. And then 10 people would always show up at the house every Sunday night, and everyone knew each other. And so on one of these Sunday nights, I invited a woman from an internet, says, hey, why don't you just come and join the night? And then she kind of took it as a little bit of a date. So now she's being interrogated by 10 people. And I'm just like, why don't you just come over and have and just watch a film?
Yeah, I think this probably relates to your other show about a boy and a girl, can they not be just friends? Because I can imagine some people, you for example,
Yeah,
at that time, you went to the internet to find someone, actually not necessarily to be a partner of your life, not necessarily to date. Maybe if
exactly.
you're lucky, you will have sex, but in general, you just want to have someone to, just a friend,
Yeah,
maybe with benefit or not, but
yeah,
a friend.
yeah. And so
And actually, I can tell you that uh, women also have that feel. At least in my case, there is also that feeling just
uh,
to meet someone.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. Well, I guess what I started to see, and I see more often in my life, and I think it's also when we met, is that I got smarter around setting my intentions clearer.
yeah,
So when we met, I don't know if
yeah,
you remember the advertisement.
yeah, and that's actually how we met. Because in your advertisement, I don't know what you said, but basically you said, I don't know exactly
I'm
what you
not
said.
interested in a
You're not
relationship.
interested in a relationship, and that's exactly why we connected, because I was also just looking for a friend at that time. I was at the end of a very bad breakup, and
Yeah.
at that time I had to split the friends to me and to my partner at that time, and I didn't end up with a lot of people, so I thought I have to build up my network again, my friendship again. But
Mm.
at that age, it's hard to make new friends. um
I
Yeah.
thought I would sabotage the interaction by taking control.
Can you hear us though, I guess?
Yeah. Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
perfect.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. So for me, the fact that the intentions were clear when we started our relationship made it much easier because there was no baggage.
Mm-hmm.
And I found, at least in my life, when people go into the dating scene and then they set, or they mask their real intentions, then all of a sudden there's resentment that comes up as that
Yeah,
happens. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And one thing I've noticed, and now we'll kind of introduce and bring Bambos on, is that with Bambos lately, my experience has been that he has been very clear on what his expectations are before dating, and that has
Oh.
meant that there's been a shift. But we may or may not talk about that. Actually, we're here to talk about shame and being single, and and
So when
yes,
you say that, yeah.
yeah,
So what was happening for me? I was like, wow, I caught myself living this secret life where I'm interacting with women online and I'm not really talking about it. And there comes a frustration with that because, in a way, I have been interacting with quite a lot of women, and it feels like since I'm working with you, Andy, and also having had my last relationship, which was one of my biggest lessons,
mm,
I I got so clear with myself that, in a way, if I invite someone into my life and not having a full yes, moving forward, I know I can never blame them. And if I invite them saying yes to the whole package, knowing that it's not a full yes, then in a way I'm kind of going to relive my past cycle.
Mhm.
So I've kind of said no to my behavior of inviting certain things into my life, and but as a consequence, I stay single, unfucked, and not getting that deep yearning. And I use the word unfucked in a way because sometimes if I talk to a woman on the streets, it's like, oh, you come across as really confident. You must be doing this a lot. And I'm like, yeah, actually I do. And just to be clear, of course I want sex and so much more. But of course that level of that level of being very straightforward just doesn't work for everyone.
Mm.
And that's where I find myself in a lonely place, because when I go online, I've been on all the dating apps possible, like Spiritual Singles, fucking Tinder, OK Cupid, and everyone writes, I value vulnerability, honesty, da 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 da. But once you give them the thing that they ask for, it's like, no.
Yeah.
But of course, in a way, you might say, Bambos, you're filtering out stuff and you're saving yourself a lot of headache. But on another end, it's just very frustrating, especially like I made a video last week, which was the reason we're having the podcast, by the way, where I shared this frustration and that I've been hiding myself. Like it got to the point where I was like, hey guys, listen up. I'm single. I'm in your network. If you know any women that are like, I wanted to make a post where I'm inviting women in, but at the same time, I felt insecure about doing that because in a way I might be attracting energy that I just don't want. So it felt a bit double for me.
There's so many pieces. I want to like take a few steps back, right? Like even till today, you've never really owned that you're on the dating apps in our contact.
Until a few weeks ago, Andy.
Yeah, but even then, it's like let me say it, but not share the shame that's connected to it. You know, it's almost like oh, I got away with saying it now, so I don't have to feel shameful because now I've said it.
Well, the purpose of me making that video last week was also to stop hiding.
Yeah, okay, but sorry, I wanted to follow that up with, so what was underlying that? So what was going on inside of you that made it?
I've always had an identity that I never needed to go online. And I always met women on the streets or in a club or in a yoga place. So my sense of identity was always, I've got the balls to do what most men can't do. And all of a sudden, I'm being the thing that I was judging all this time.
Wow.
Fuck, I'm going to be online. Oh, I'm messaging women on Facebook, even like doing things which I never thought I would be doing. And of course, Facebook is not a dating platform, but I have been using it as a dating platform.
Slow down a bit. So what would have, or still may linger, what would have been the story you had about somebody that needed to go to an online dating site to get a date? Like what would have been, what's the narrative in your head? What was it?
I projected that most people that go online are actually using online platforms to hide who they truly are by presenting themselves in a certain way. And that's the thing that I always felt judgmental towards.
Interesting.
And I have to say, I felt sick to my stomach at the idea of doing this podcast. Like I cried several times today. Because I feel I'm one of my intentions of doing this podcast was also I don't want to live in the shadows anymore. And I think in a way I just don't want to hide anymore.
Yeah.
It's and the hiding also comes from I shouldn't be feeling this way. I should be able to handle this, and it hurts. It just hurts. And I also knew that there's more people out there suffering, and I don't want to be part of that silence anymore. As a man, as a sexual being, I don't want to apologize for how I stand in the world. And I felt by keeping silent, I'm also contributing to that fucking thing that I don't want to be part of. And that's why I wanted to make that video. That's why I made the video. And then when you said let's do the podcast, I thought, yeah, let's do it. So I knew I would cry because it's not an easy subject for me. And yet I don't. Thanks to you, of course. Like I always go back to the wounded healer. When you promise yourself not to suppress any emotions, this has been a great inspiration for me to say no more to suppressing and hiding. So I can live more free.
Yeah.
I came prepared.
Yeah. I don't know if I say it in the right way, but Bambos, when you said you're hiding, it is actually a lot of it is hiding from yourself in a sense, right? I mean, I'm an outsider and I'm just observing things and dating online. I know a lot of people doing it. So, that's perhaps the other perspective that I thought everybody is doing. That's how people do it nowadays. The new generation, the technological era where we are. So even this topic, it's
I would say I was hiding the pain of being a single man and not being able to invite a woman with the qualities that I so deeply desire. And I've been hiding, talking to 3 to 5 women every week. And yeah, I do get a lot of no's, but I also say a lot of no's, especially when the conditions are not there. And I'm not saying no to the person, I'm saying no to behaviors so yeah.
When you
I'm saying, so I'm hiding the fact that I'm cool with being single. I'm not cool with being single.
Okay, that's what you meant. Yeah, because when you just said about, you're hiding the fact that you're seeing 3, 4, 5 women in a week, I thought that's something to celebrate, right? That's
yeah.
I
But
mean,
I
for
guess
some others,
You would celebrate that if you derive your identity out of having, I'm getting a lot of dates. But
yeah, that's true.
also in the past it was easier because I would go out. If I go to a retreat, you're bound to meet the people that share the same values, and of course now it's more random.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The thing, the what I find interesting is that I mean, I've taken a good part of your journey with you, and I remember you were very identified with the joy that you got from walking down the street and being able to chat up women and have that kind of fun experiment. It was almost like a fisherman with his pole in the water, and he just every day I catch a fish. So in a way, there was something that was really like fun and joyous for you in that. And then I noticed or saw, we discussed it, of course, that you said, "I'm not going to be that anymore," because
Yeah.
you saw it as an addictive kind of behavior in yourself. So I mean, an auto response. It wasn't conscious.
I was also having a lot of sex back then, and when you met me in that space, I was scared of having a relationship. So I was hiding behind having several women because in that respect, you can never get rejected. If someone will walk away, then you always had comfort. So that was the kind of life I was living, right? And as soon as I recognized that I was avoiding deep intimacy, I said no to that addiction because it wasn't serving anymore.
So in your journey, you said no to that, and then I also know you had that period of almost a year plus of celibacy.
Yeah.
And so, and I know you to be quite dramatic in your decisions. You don't just say, You just say, I'm going celibate. You don't say for a time period. You just say, I'm just going to go celibate. And then
Cold turkey.
just cold turkey. Yeah. As if it's like smoking. I'm just going to stop smoking. But now it's almost like now what I'm often seen in myself is when I suppress something, it often comes back. It's like it's the ping pong going back and forth.
Pendulum.
The pendulum. Thank you. So the pendulum swinging back and forth. So I'm curious, do you see a degree of that in your life where you say, I'm not going to do this, and then you do it again, and then you judge yourself for doing the thing that you thought, because I know I'm mumbling a bit, but in the identity of you saying, Andy, I don't want to be that guy, then all of a sudden, that's when I notice I have struggle in myself. If I don't want to be someone, then that's when I start to feel the drag in my system. That's why Ronnie will laugh and say, you have no shame. And I think not having shame for me means being okay with everything that I am. I mean, knowing that if I don't celebrate it, then I'm going to have a drag in my system. So it's a long question. I'm not sure if you even, if it kind of landed, but how is that for you?
Can you simplify the question?
Do you feel that there's a pendulum in you, that you go from extreme to extreme and you don't necessarily know how to find a middle?
Yet,
yeah.
I would say that to the degree that I can feel into what you're saying, there was a pendulum, but I don't experience that I'm in a pendulum in this moment. Like where I am right now is me knowing what I want and not compromising it, and the price of not compromising means that I am single.
Yeah. And when you say I know what I don't want, if I look at Ronnie and my relationship, if I said clearly the woman I'm with has to have A, B, C, D, E, F, and G, we probably wouldn't be together.
Yeah. So when I'm saying I know what I don't want, it is there's certain behaviors out there that I can say very, very clear no to.
Okay. But that isn't so broad that you've made it almost impossible for you to find someone that you could actually get to know. She's not like, it's not like 5'2", black hair.
No. I mean, physicality is very important, and I don't want to underestimate physicality. But there's also, I mean, if a woman is taller than me, I tend to joke, "Oh, more woman from me." But in general, it has to do more with like personal hygiene. You know that I'm very personal hygiene, and I look after myself. I'm fit. I can never promise to love someone for the rest of my life if I see them going down a road where they're becoming obese and not loving themselves and not caring anymore. So there is a standard there that I live by, and I also want to invite that a certain level of consciousness. And I do love the dynamics between the two of you, because in a way you are completely different, and yet it fucking works because you've just accepted, and there's a full acceptance of each other's qualities without needing the other person to be more or less than what they are. And I take that also. Like if I can't fully accept someone, then it's a no, because there is no love when you don't accept someone fully.
Yeah. I think yesterday, Andy, when we take a walk, we were talking about this term that I thought I think I came up with the term and I'm quite proud of it, so I'm going to repeat it. It's emotional self-sufficiency. So when you're happy just with yourself, you don't need anybody to make you feel certain emotions. So then your partner is always a bonus. So you always like and appreciate them because it's almost like an addition to where you already are. And and that requires what you said about full acceptance.
I think in general, I mean, I have been speaking to female friends of mine, and there was one specifically, and she asked, why are we not physical together? Because we do get sometimes massages, and the reason was, and I shared it with her, it was really vulnerable, is like we don't share, like I'm an extremely clean person and personal grooming is important to me,
And you're
like
filthy woman.
like and I said it with a lot of care, because in a way I wasn't saying that there was something wrong with that.
Yeah.
But I know that if I'm in a relationship with her, I would want to change that in her, and I don't want to be the cause to change someone. That
Yeah.
I really want them to do that for themselves, and not be. It just does. It will never work, and I've had that also with my last relationship, where my partner would not take care of the house, and then if I would be gone for 2 weeks, we got mice.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that is not a way I want to live.
Mhm.
When just going back to that story, what did she say when you said, "I'm sorry, it's not going to go anywhere because you're
Well,
not clean"?
I was surprised that I was really happy that she didn't take it personally, and she kind of laughed it. But for sure, there's attraction between us. It's just not, the conditions are not there.
I got it. Yeah.
And I do have that quite often with women, that not all things are there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it could be that, like, I want to also put it also on me. Like, sometimes I'm just fucking intense.
Sure.
And in the past, I would tone my intensity down, and I'd speak in a way that would make them feel safe. And I noticed I'm turning down my light to accommodate someone, and I don't want to do that either.
Yeah.
Like, someone said to me, "I'm hesitating meeting you," and I'm like, "Listen to your hesitation then." I'm
Yeah.
like, there's nothing I can say to make them come to me, or I could, but I don't want to do that anymore.
Yeah. No
Okay.
convincing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, interesting. Because I can imagine a woman say, "Well, I'm hesitating meeting you as part of the dance, like the mating dance.
Yeah.
I want you, but I don't want you. I want you to come. You come,
Oh,
I go, but I come." So
and I would say that's very true. And in this case, for example, it was because I could feel that she's been hurt, and it's very. I would never want to heal someone. So in a way, I didn't make it easy for her to say yes,
Yeah.
because I want her to stand in her power when she says yes, and not because I created so much comfort that she can say yes to, and then all of a sudden I'm in a connection with someone where they keep running away because it's too much, and I have to bring them back again. That's not how I want to live. Like,
Yeah.
in a way, if you ask me what I want, I want a fucking queen by my side that stands in her power. She can be very feminine. She can cut my balls off if I'm not in alignment. I can surrender, and I can also be in my masculine. And we want to be together, and we want to be together is so key for me. In the past, it will be, I fucking need someone because I'm lonely, and now it's more like I deeply yearn in the deepest part of my heart to have someone share this life with. And in the past, I would need to fix something in myself before I would do that, and I don't need that anymore.
yeah.
And I'm speaking these words, and I really feel them, and it's really thanks to you two, and of course the time that I share with Andy a lot, that I've come to this conclusion in my life. And there has been a time in my life where I would just say yes to everything just because it was easy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine what you said about this yearn of having someone to share your life with. Just I was just wondering whether you consider that has it to be a queen for you, your queen, or can it be other things, people, maybe not just one person, but people you share your life with.
Well, right now, I do have friends that satisfy skin hunger in exchanging a massage or just a hug. It's so important. Now with COVID, I can't go out and hug people anymore, because that's how I coped with not having intimacy or sexuality during my celibacy. And I use the word coped because I really discovered that I needed it. And And I just see it also, me asking for that is really an act of self-love.
Mm.
Just picking up the phone and saying, hey, I need a hug right now, or do you mind coming over and giving me a massage or whatever?
Mm. Yeah.
And I'm happy I can have that without needing it to be more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Certain
Yeah.
people.
And not to get confused around it. So
There's some
No.
comments coming in. It would be nice maybe to talk or to bring in. Raul, who you know is quite practical, says one thing got confirmed already: skip the sex and life gets a lot easier.
That does not surprise me, Raul.
Bola Long says, Bambos, you are so particular. I initially thought you were gay.
I am.
Yes, you are. Are you ready to come out on this show? Can this be your coming out show?
I'm also gay, Bulelang.
Oh, nice. And Jessica has a bit of a longer one. Living according to a standard sounds not compassionate to yourself. Being fit, working for that, etc., is one thing, but let that be the standard and putting that higher than the connection sounds harsh towards her and yourself. Keeping standards seems contradicting love, connection, compassion, etc. That's interesting.
Yeah.
I can see why she would say that, but in my body, what I shared feels very much in alignment. And I'm sure there's a man that would fit exactly Jessica's ideals. But for me, I've compromised myself in the past so much that I've never allowed myself to stand fully in my power to the point where it hurts.
Okay. And then let that be the way the person meets you. And then your foundation is strong because there's no surprises 3-6 months down the road.
Exactly. And in a way, I like to hold myself firmly in this moment. And of course, in a relationship, there's always going to be some level of compromise. But initially, I never want to compromise. I want the compromise I see it as a melting together. And it's coming from both of us being in our power, and that we love each other so much that to some degree, it's not even, the word compromise doesn't even feel good anymore. It's just like a meeting because the foundation is love.
Yeah.
And she follows that up by saying it's not about ideals. I'm assuming she's meaning it's not about the ideal person, do you think, or the ideal? I'm not exactly sure what that's referring to, but
I have a blank in my mind when I read it.
I've got a question.
I think I have to kind of also crunch my head and my heart a bit, but I imagine I am the ideals is kind of the criteria that you have. I want my partner to be A, B, C, D. Instead of you meet someone and the chemistry just works. Love grows through the friendship, through the interaction that you have. Maybe not initiated as a necessarily date or relationship, but it kind of grows, and then you don't think about ideals anymore because you find yourself actually being with that person and enjoying the time with that person. Then you don't think about ideals or criteria.
I'd love to follow up from there, Bambos, if I may, right?
Yeah.
Is that on the show, we'll often talk about going away from something or going to something. And when I see you talking about the individual, about the woman, let's say, there is in my sense, and I guess that's what I hear Jessica reacted to, and what I now hear Ronnie also getting slightly triggered by, is that it still has to do with the other. And it's interesting because I think, oh yeah, in my life, how I see I've solved a lot of these issues for myself is that, oh, I get to establish what I want in my life. And that might be a lonely place because someone might not be able to meet me there, but it doesn't have to do with the other.
Yeah.
So in some ways, when you speak about it, it very well might be that that's really what you're saying, but still we draw in the other. And by doing that, it sounds a little bit harsh. That's what I hear in myself. At least that's what I'm taking away from
Mm.
interpreting what Jessica is said. And I think, is that true for you as well?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it would sound like this. I'm not going to compromise anymore. I feel like whoever's going to meet me is going to feel my strength, understand what I'm all about, and love being with me. And there'll be someone that finds me and loves me there. And until that happens, I'll just let it unfold.
Yeah.
That's the all about me and not about them. The other side is where it's like she has to fulfill these, and if she doesn't, then she doesn't belong. That's pushing away the woman, as opposed to inviting someone to join you in how you want to live and be in the world. It's a very different energy, I found, at least for me.
Yeah, it's like instead of a filter, because Bambos, I think you used the word filter as well at the beginning. Instead of filter, it's probably, I visualize it as you're being a magnet, and that there are people coming. Some will fall off, some will stay, and some will have that kind of chemistry that just somehow you guys are
Mm.
you're stuck together
Yeah.
happily.
We talked about
Um,
this on our show, by the way, the
yeah,
leadership management show. The leadership is visioning out where you want to be and how you want to be in the world, and inviting people to join you there. And the manager is making sure no one gets in your way of not getting there. And not that either one or both are not also simultaneously important, but if you're dominant on one or the other, then it tends to bleed into how you and what you attract in your life.
yeah,
If you don't want a type of woman, I guarantee you that's going to be the type of woman that shows up.
yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
Sorry.
it's possible that you're right then, because in a way, I do see that I attract women who are not in alignment.
That's interesting. How is that?
That's how I've seen it work, right? When I put out an energy into the world, strangely, in the management energy, it tends to be things I have to manage against. I have to make
Right.
sure this doesn't happen. Where if I say, like, if you put in your, like, you and I, we've never gone into your profile, right, to see how you've positioned yourself, right? But it would be great to some point look at that profile and just discuss how are you visioning out what you want, and then what type of person would be attracted to that kind of profile.
Mm.
Yeah, just another experiment that I'll enjoy with you.
I would think that some online dating would do that, right? Going back to the topic of today, single and shame, and we connected
Oh,
to this.
that was not really the topic of today.
Oh,
The topic
okay.
of today was just shame and single, I would say.
Oh yes, yeah, yes, I'm single.
The
Oh yeah, because the identity that you mentioned,
Yeah.
because you had the idea that people who, I put it to the extreme, yeah, people who use online dating apps, they are superficial and they're fake and they're probably desperate. They cannot meet people in a normal way. But another narrative is that these people are probably, they have a great life. They're just too busy. They're busy to find people, but they need someone. They would like to have someone in their life. So they kind of outsource that into an app or into a dating site, have that help them find the people who potentially can match,
Yeah, I would say it depends on the context. I
Mm.
didn't mean to make it absolute what I shared, but that was in general my judgment. Yeah.
Mm.
Mm.
I still don't feel, in general, that you're totally at peace with this "I'm single" thing.
Why? Was it the idea that on the show I find peace?
No, no, no. But I wanted to ask around that, like what are things that are still open for you? What do you feel like if I was able to make peace with that, I could make peace with the fact I might be single the rest of my life, and it's okay.
Well, in a way, like doing this show and talking about it is part of my step to find that peace in myself, I would say. Like I like doing it and talking about it was for me a first step, and then whatever, like in my mind's eye, I always judge myself through other people's eyes when it comes to this, because as a man I've always been like, the statement, "Oh, you're only after sex," kind of hits me sometimes, and I'm not fully at peace because I don't feel seen in that space. So I
And what do you mean? I don't feel seen in that sense. How would you be seen?
That there's so much more than just sex. And yes,
Oh.
sex is really important. I am a sexual human being, and it's important for me as well as, and it's it's not just that.
But what would be the problem if it was just that? Like, what's your identity that says I don't want to be seen as that? Like, what
Well,
is that?
because I've lived that life, and I identified that, or I connected in the time where I was very avoiding intimacy.
Okay.
And yeah, there is one thing. If the heart is not connected to the sexual act, I can't say I'm interested anymore.
Yeah.
Like, as a consequence, like even saying the words I want and desire love, like, I feel my whole heart contracting.
What do you see when you say contracting? What's going on inside of you when you say that?
No, just that there's a contraction in my chest. To acknowledge that.
Oh, to acknowledge it.
To acknowledge that you want to be loved.
Just love.
Mm-hmm.
And everything that you might attach to that word.
It feels like I'm skating around something really big that isn't really outspoken, and I don't know what that big thing is yet. Because in some ways I hear it, and then I don't know. I understand we say love, but what is it you're longing for? Like, what is it?
So I would say I want to trust your intuition, where you ask me a question without thinking what the question is, because that the question you just asked doesn't land
Doesn't land in you. Yeah. So what is it that I'm not seeing?
I notice I really need to think to find the answer, but maybe I just have to also answer the question and see what comes up.
Yeah.
What you're not seeing is me seeing myself as weak for wanting love.
Right. So, yeah.
Yeah.
So you're strong because you don't need love. You don't need anything from anybody.
Yeah. I've always identified as self-sufficient.
Yeah.
And I guess that's the part of me that needs to die.
Yeah.
So if you were to do like one of the "and it's fucking greats," what would be the strongest statement you'd say to the "and it's fucking great"?
I'm not worthy of love, and it's fucking great. I'm not worthy of being loved, and it's fucking great. Is there something stronger?
No, I'm just with you. When you speak, I feel myself, and I can feel myself, my stomach move, and so I connect with the same feelings in myself as you speak. Yeah. I'm not worthy of love, and it's fucking great.
Yeah.
It's very hard to say so, though.
Totally.
Yeah. I remember a time when I thought, wow, nobody loves me.
Can we just stay with this for a second?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the statement. I didn't fully believe it until I gave some space for it.
Hmm. Ralph Lewis says something interesting. I'm not sure what the B before means, but
There's an A part before.
oh, is there an A part? I didn't see the A part. He says not.
Oh, Bambos maybe B.
Oh,
Sorry.
Bambos, yeah. Not a part that needs to die, a part that needs your unconditional love.
Yeah, that makes
Yeah,
sense. To even love the part of me that doesn't find acceptance.
yeah. Very well put.
Mm. I feel a lot of sadness right now.
Yeah. Mm. You know, as we've spent time together through the years, and I feel how you process these sort of experiences. I really connect to that time when you were in the drug addiction phase of your life, that 10 years. And in some weird way now, when we discuss, overcoming the addiction, I often see that sometimes the addictions become different addictions. They're healthier addictions, but they are addictive behaviors, like
Mm.
picking up the women and filling up the hole of the what you used to fill with drugs, with more of an upbeat, crazy, let's talk to everyone on the street sort of feeling, right?
Yeah.
And what I've seen now is like a slowing down to let the voice that you've tried to cover up all those years finally be present. And I see it's not easy.
Mm.
And when Ralph Lewis writes, how capable are you to love that? And it's interesting because if you think about it, everything that you're not able to love is why you were turning, of course, to the drugs, or why you were chasing the women to fill the hole.
Yeah.
Mm.
And the question is, how willing are you to start loving the part of yourself that you've judged for all these years?
Yeah, that part of you that you've been hiding. Now you have a bit more quietness. They start to come up maybe one by one and showing it in front of your face and saying, love me too. I'm not perfect,
Yeah.
but I'm part of you.
Well, I guess doing this show is, as far as I'm concerned, an act of love.
Mm.
Um, like in a way, I really felt sick to my stomach coming online to do this,
Yeah.
and my intuition was saying this is going to be really good for you.
Yeah, I think I've told you when I lived in Vienna, neither of you would have liked me because I was very egoic in the sense that I was the director of the computer company and every day was planned out because I couldn't have any time alone.
Yeah.
I was on the phone incessantly. I remember my phone bill was over €1,000 a month. And when the CEO called me in the office and he said, "You got to bring it down," I said, "Bring me into the office when it's under 1,000 because I'm doing my job." It's just this very arrogant and unrounded being. And I saw I was covering up the fear of loneliness in myself.
Mm.
And it took me a long time, with the help of Case, my mentor, to allow the depth of the pain to be loved, because I noticed that if someone tried to push me to the pain, I'd be very defensive and a bit aggressive towards them. Like, get away from me. Who are you to put your, so it was I needed to be around very, very loving people that created so much space for me that I could sort of slowly but surely come to meet them, because the little kid in me was not able to accept love. And you even see it still till today. Someone compliments me on the books, it's always like another level of how do I embrace this and feel the real love behind it. So when you speak, I feel I can feel it in my own journey of how hard it was for me to quiet the voices in my head and sit with just the feeling of aloneness that was underneath everything I was doing to cover it up and mask it. Yeah. Ralph also makes a statement. He says, "I'm not worthy of love" is a false belief. That's clear to all of us. We use the statement in order to make it clear that it is a false belief by saying that it's fucking great. So "I'm not worthy of love" is not trying to create the statement. It's acknowledging that the feeling is there and then twisting it on its head. Yeah.
Read The Wounded Healer, Ralph. Yeah, and I also saw, since we're back, like in the 2 months that you were gone and we didn't have the show, I really had to like, I had all this time. And, it just wasn't easy.
Yeah.
And full stop.
Yeah. Ralph also adds, in doing this particular show, you are giving yourself love and you're sharing your love with everyone who also resonates with your feelings, me included, with the heart. Yeah.
Yeah. I think when we're doing our shows, Andy, and I'm not fully present because I have a lot of things going on for myself, and it is because I haven't been talking about this part of myself, which prevents me from being fully present in the shows. So
we can start talking about your dating life on the show, just in general.
You can go fuck yourself. Like the whole purpose of our show is to talk about everything.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's one thing that it's interesting, and it goes a little bit to Ralph's statement, is sometimes I'll be conscious where I feel like you put yourself in situations, right, where I'm always, I would say, worried, that would be the word I'd use, that you're not loving yourself through the process. It's almost like when you go into the cold baths in Amsterdam, putting yourself in this extreme extreme cold positions. Like I need to be in an extreme situation in order to feel. And in a way, I really want you to know that there's a degree to which your dedication to taking risks, like doing this show, is something that I live in admiration of you, because you really do take risks that I think, wow, I didn't even know how challenging this show would be for you. I had no clue.
Yeah.
It touches me to receive that. Thank you.
It's really brave.
Yeah.
Be the thing you want to see more in the world, right?
Yeah. If you were to look just in general, because there's this, we're over the hour, but I'd still like to stay with just one. If you look at the essence of the love that you were missing, right, in our call and in the talk, then where would you say, like, that's like stem from in your life?
I can't connect to your question.
When I was a kid, Dad was always abusive. He never really saw me. And so my whole life, I always felt like I was unseen. Like no matter how much I did, I wouldn't be seen. And
Yeah.
it was always hard for me because it manifested in my adult life that I would do things over the top that were far more than required, only so I could get the recognition that I longed for that I didn't receive as a kid. And so I wonder to myself, when we talk about you and this longing for love, is there a moment you're like, yeah, and for me, this is really where I see it, the heart of where it began in my own life.
Yeah. You just had to. You just had to drop the mic before we end.
We'll see you next time.
It was the Facebook post that I shared actually a month ago.
Yeah.
So it wasn't when Dad was abusive. Well, it wasn't when my parents were abusive. It was that moment where I'm 15 and I woke up in the morning. I knew my dad was leaving for Africa, and I just knew I wasn't going to see him again. It was. Wow, it's really difficult to talk about. I knew I wasn't going to see him again, and I remember begging him to not go. And my sister kind of walked me to the school, and funny enough, the school was next door to my house, so it was very easy to walk me to the gate. And I just remember that morning, something really shifted for me. And I guess it was really painful that I numbed myself. So yeah, that was the moment. It's so funny writing the post. I cried, but even speaking it out loud on this podcast, and really speaking as my body kind of reliving it.
Hmm.
And I guess it's never really going to go away because it's just part of me and it's just about me allowing this to also be there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if in 2 weeks through talking with you and reflecting, maybe that changes, but at least that's how I experience it right now.
I'd also uh, take a note in my own experience from Ralph, in that the one thing that I noticed in my own journey is the thing that I couldn't give myself was the thing that I needed to start to love. And in a weird way, loving the younger version of me, that suffering Andy, the giving him the love as if I was the father and the child simultaneously,
Mm.
has certainly been part of my healing. My healing,
Mhm.
that poor little boy, and not in loving him and giving him that unconditional love. I've found that that's been a big part of my healing process.
Yeah.
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 Someone coming up for you?
Yeah, but that's off topic. So
Okay.
Is it?
okay, let's stop there. You're the one being interviewed. I'm the
This is Ronnie's way of making sure to make sure we're going to end this episode before it might
yes.
get to something that touches me too close.
It's that felt really juicy.
Well, invite me next time then. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
And Ralph Lewis is confirmed. Absolutely, Andy. Same here. Yeah. I think there's a if you look at Jessica and Ralph and myself included, I've often pointed you in judgment, right? I'll own it, that, oh, you're not as loving to yourself as I'd like to see you.
Mm.
And I found that it's in loving me and sort of loving the parts of me that always felt hard to love, that I've been able to heal. Yeah. Not slavishly putting them under duress, but really just saying, oh, there's that soft part of me, that pathetic part of me. And in a way, Ronnie has really served me there, because she sees that part of me and she loves that for me when I can't love it myself.
Mm.
Wow. And it's hard to say. I hear myself say it. It really feels beautiful when I say that. Yeah. And that way Ronnie knows me better than I know myself at those moments. Yeah. So when I can't unconditionally love it, then Ronnie will unconditionally love it for me, so that I can feel closer to it, even if I can't fully connect to it. Yeah. Yeah. So Bambos, I leave you with the last question from Bolalang. First question he asked us: how does it feel to be a guest and having to set up on the receiving end?
It was my choice, and I already expressed in the beginning that I felt sick to my stomach.
Yeah, but that was the more specific. But you're normally on the sofa next to me where Ronnie's sitting. So how is it for you now to experience it on the other side?
I can't answer right now. I get
okay.
Okay.
See this and it's time to
no. It's really, there's so much emotion moving through me that if I
Great.
start to go into my head to answer a question,
Oh, got it. You're really
I
still
feel
there.
I'm
Yeah, yeah.
moving away from whatever emotions there, and I
Well, thank you for holding that. My apologies for taking you away. I'll blame it on Bolalang.
no, but I feel great. I feel grateful for having spent this time with both of you. As you both know, you're very dear to me. So
Yeah. Thank you.
Bambos, for sharing, and hopefully we can love that part of you that you may have difficulty at the beginning to love, at least.
Yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing. For all the other people out there that actually are in the same position, thank you for giving them a chance to hear your experience of the world, because obviously, as a wounded healer, it'll give them a chance to also learn and grow from it. So thank you. Yeah, I'll see you on the sofa tomorrow.
You will.
Yes, till
Bye.
tomorrow. I don't know who the shows are, but we'll find that out later. Bye.
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 Hey, babe. Hey, Ronnie.
Hey, you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How was the show for you?
It's good.
Hmm?
Yeah. It's strangely, I feel like let's end the show now, because I've got so much to share, all the revelations that I got also during the show, but I guess I'm
We'll
still
discuss it
not
afterwards.
comfortable talking, sharing with the whole world.
Oh, is
But
that right?
yeah, it's a very universal feeling,
Yeah.
right? Yearning for love and judging ourselves
For wanting it
for wanting it,
and not feeling like we deserve it.
yeah,
Yeah.
and wonder sometimes what is wrong with me.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
So
I can
thank
relate to
Bambos for
that.
sharing that and giving other people a chance to
For sure.
hear his version of that story in his life.
Yeah.
Then we will have another show. I don't know what the lineup is, but we do this every day at 5 p.m. Central European Time, 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time.
Yeah.
But you won't be next to me tomorrow.
You never know.
It's true. We've done that before.
You guys might be lucky and see me again tomorrow.
Till next time on A Wonderful Chaos.